Shabbat Shalom. Today's Torah portion is Yitro, named for the opening verse, which describes how Moses' father-in-law, Yitro, pays a visit to Moses and the Israelites in the desert after the Exodus. More about Yitro in a minute. After Yitro returns home, we are told that the people encamp in front of the mountain, either Mount Horeb or Mount Sinai, depending on the version. God tells Moses that he will make a covenant with the people, and they will be a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. When the people are told, they reply, Na'aseh v'nishma. We will do and we will listen. Action preceding the hearing. Moses tells the people to purify themselves and avoid contact with the opposite sex so that on the third day they will be prepared to hear God's commandments. We all know the rest of the story. We've seen the movie. The cloud, the thunder, the horns, the voice of God, and the Ten Commandments. As tempting as it may be to talk about all the variations and versions of the revelation, today, since we are marking Refugee Shabbat, we will leave the interpretations for another time and concentrate on the Yitro story. The story of Yitro, the Midianite priest, and his relationship with Moses and the people of Israel is a very rare positive story of a non-Jew being acclaimed in the Torah. The story is in contrast to the characterization of other foreigners, people like Lavan, Pharaoh, Balak, and Bilam, who are portrayed as dishonest, ungrateful, or conniving, wishing to hurt our ancestors. Let's go back a few chapters to get the backstory of Yitro. Yitro, Moses, the Egyptian prince, is out pyramid construction watching when he sees an Egyptian overseer beating a Hebrew slave. Thinking that no one is watching, Moses kills and buries the slave master. The next day, Moses discovers that his apparently impulsive action was seen, and further, that Pharaoh has issued an arrest warrant. Of course, the story as it's told really doesn't make all that much sense. Why would Pharaoh care about a prince killing a lowly slave master? Certainly, there must be more to the story, like some palace or political intrigue for Pharaoh to issue a death sentence against Moses. Moses, fearing for his life, escapes from Egypt and goes to Midian. This is the classical definition of a refugee, a person who flees from his native country out of fear for his or her safety for political, religious, or racial reasons. In Moses' case, let's say it's political. Now a refugee, Moses arrives at a well where he sees male shepherds bullying women shepherds. Moses immediately steps in and chases away the bullies and helps the women water their sheep. The women return home and tell their father Yitro about the brave Egyptian. Yitro reacts immediately. "What's wrong with you, my daughters? Didn't I teach you any manners? Where is this man? And why didn't you invite him for dinner?" The women run out, find Moses, and bring him home. So Yitro and his family become what we would call today a refugee settlement or refugee welcoming group. First, they feed him. Then, they give him a room in their house, hopefully rent-free. Then, knowing that Moses needs a job, Yitro hires him as a shepherd and shows him around the community. To top it off, and this part is definitely not in the Jai's handbook of how to welcome refugees, Yitro gives Moses his daughter Zipporah as a wife. We know the story from here. God appears to Moses in a burning bush and orders Moses to go back to Egypt to free his people. Fast forward to today's Torah reading. Yitro hears about the miracles of the Exodus and contacts Moses and tells him he is coming to the Israelite camp with Zipporah and Moses' 2 sons. Moses greets him, bows to him in gratitude. Yitro performs a sacrifice to the Hebrew God and tells Moses that their God is the most powerful of all the gods. The next day, Yitro watches Moses spend the whole day judging disputes among the people. So Yitro, even though the sponsorship is officially over, does one more thing refugee groups should do. He gives Moses career advice and tells Moses that he will wear himself out. Instead, Yitro advises Moses to restructure the judicial system and appoint lower and higher court judges and only allow the most difficult cases to come to him. Moses accepts Yitro's recommendations. And after the last bit of wise advice and help, Yitro returns home. So today, on Refugee Shabbat, the Torah gives us a blueprint of the generous spirit and of the meticulous details required to welcome refugees to our community. Let me just add my welcome to our guests, and for everyone's information, about 30 minutes after the service ends, when the service ends, everyone's invited down one floor for a Kiddush lunch. Because so many of our guests spent much of their life in Israel, Danielle has prepared Israeli food today for our lunch. 35 minutes approximately after the service ends, I'll ask you to reassemble in the sanctuary, and Esther Enkin will interview 3 of our former refugees whom we help sponsor or welcome. Please join us either in person or on Zoom. It'll be broadcast on both. Shabbat Shalom to all.
So we're just about to approach this very special moment in the year when we read 10 Commandments. And when it's read, we stand up to that reading, for it's a foundation of ethics and of our Jewish life, as well as, was given to the world. Torah was not only given to us, it was given worldwide as well, and the word travels. So when we do so, I know some of you very curious to know what's inside the scroll. Some of you heard about the scroll or seen it somewhere far away, whether you were born or raised as a Jew or whether you are a guest here in the synagogue. But it is our precious possession, our truly beloved document of the sacred text. So if you are curious and would like to see when we read it, let the Torah be surrounded. So if you're comfortable, we're going to fill the space all around the reading, and you will be able to see the inside of the scroll as well. So we do have an aliyah. So once the aliyah is called up, I'm going to ask all of you, those of you who are interested, to fill this lovely space as really reenactment of Har Sinai, of the moment when the Torah is given. So we have an aliyah.
No. You have to come behind here. You can't see from up there. No, come closer. We want you to see the text.
Just come around the reading table.
Snuggle. Torah snuggle. Should I start? So. Just by way of explanation, for those who've not seen Torah text, please feel free to come closer. Yes, absolutely. These, of course, are Hebraic printed letters that are hand-scrolled, every single letter in this entire scroll. Can you imagine? And the challenge, of course, with reading Torah from its text is, in contrast to what Don is following for me, the complete and total absence of vowel sounds, the complete and total absence of punctuation. Where does a verse end? Where does a verse begin? And most importantly, the complete and total absence of those various cantillation sounds that you're hearing me chant, which are placed above and below the words in our, what we call our Chumash. Our regular text in the Torah is totally absent. So, a little bit of a challenge to read. So we will begin our reading. And of course, first our Aliyah.
Okay. Baruch Hu Adonai HaMvarach.
Baruch Adonai V'rach Le'olam.
Baruch Adonai HaMvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Kirvanu Lavodato V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
I should also note that our recent bat mitzvah is assisting me here in keeping the scroll nice and wide open.
Thank you, Ziva.
Thank you. Amen. Vaydaber Elohim et kol advarim ha'ele lemor Anochi Adonai Elohecha Asher hotzeticha me'eretz Mitzrayim beravadim. Commandment number 1. I am the Lord your God who has brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Lo yelecha Elohim acherim hapanai. Commandment number 2, you shall have no other gods before me. Lo taseh lecha hafesa v'chol tmuna asher b'shamayim imal v'asher b'haaretz mitachat v'asher b'mayim mitachat la'haaretz lo tishtachaveh lahem v'lo tavtem ki anochi Adonai Elohecha Elkanah Poked Navo Dabanim Ashileshim Yaribehim Lesonai Ve'oseh Chesed Lahalafim Le'avai Ushomrei Mitzvotai Lo Tisah Et Shem Adonai Elohecha Lashav. Commandment number 3, you shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. Ki lo yinakeh Adonai Ned Asher Yisad Shemo Lashav Zachor Et Yom HaShabbat lekadsho. Commandment number 4. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Sheshet yamim tavod ve'asita kol malachtecha ve'yom hashvi'i Shabbat l'Adonai Elohecha lo ta'aseh kol malacha Natzov vincho v'itecha Navtecha v'amarcho v'emtecha V'gercha asher b'sharecha Ki sheshet yamim Asa Adonai Et hashamayim v'et haaretz Et hayom ve'kol asher bam V'yanach b'yom hashvi'i Haken Berach Adonai et Yom HaShabbat vayikadshehu. Kabed et avicha v'et imecha. Commandment number 5. Honor your father and your mother. Lemon yarichu yamecha lahadamaha asher Adonai Elohecha noten lach lo tirtzach. Commandment number 6, you shall not murder. Lo tinaf. Commandment number 7, you shall not commit adultery. Lo tignov. Commandment number 8, you shall not steal. Lo tanevreacha hatshaker. Commandment number 9, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. Lo tachmod bedreacha. Commandment number 10, you shall not covet your neighbor's house. Lo tachmod eshet recha. V'avtaho v'amotaho v'shoro v'chamoro v'echol nashel reyechu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natal b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
And you may be seated.
Robin well pointed out, this is such a lovely reading of Haftorah, and they're tough verses. I mean, all prophets spoke with sternness, Talmud, our oral tradition points out, lucky for you if you have somebody to give you a rebuke, meaning that this tochacha, like this honest reflection on your actions. Sometimes, often we don't want to hear it. Actually, we never want to hear it. I mean, who does, right? Unless you love pain. But the fact that if it's done with great love, it does make you a better human being and allows you to have a life of fullness. So it's always dangerous to say I will speak for a few minutes, but I will speak for a few minutes, and I'll try to keep it terse. There is a wonderful story that comes from Elie Wiesel describing, I think it's an opening to his book, Beggar in Jerusalem. And it's a story of a man who is so just in great despair that people behave so poorly. He stands on the street and he yells out, just yells and yells, please, please, mind your way, do better, and so forth. Nobody pays attention, everyone just passes by, he looks mad. And somebody comes to him after a while and says, don't you see there is no change? Nobody's changing. Why are you crying? So he says, if I don't cry out for a better life for others, it will change me. This is that I have to speak out. So I brought you a reading earlier in Amida about opening the door and standing in front of the open door, in front of the door that actually opens for you. And I remember the first time I looked inside the North American refrigerator. I was 16 years old. I opened the door and I was stunned. Not only did it look very modern and lovely and beautifully made, very new to me, a Soviet immigrant from Kiev, but the fact is that it was filled with food. It was filled with food with people we did not know and never met before. It was a group of families from Jewish community of Toronto Indianapolis, Indiana. I've been here 20 years, I'm beginning to deepen my roots. But in Indianapolis, Indiana, who volunteered to take in these refugee families, just few of us, without a language, without jobs, without really looking quite depressed, wearing the same clothes every single day, Like I remember wearing this blue dress and white polka dots. You can wash it in the sink, but you just didn't have anything else. And somebody believed in us and filled our refrigerator with Coca-Cola. I tried for the first time, and I think I just about burst because I had so much of it. And a tuna salad. I never known tuna can be stuffed in a little can in 1979. There was so much love in that everything. There were paper towel, there were toothpaste in our cupboards. There were things you needed you didn't know you needed. It was all preempted. And these families, they worked and they had children who also misbehaved. They did not know who we are, and yet they showed up before we arrived, made our beds, and opened the door for us. So fast forward now, June 2022, I'm at the airport with my son David, who is slicing your Israeli salad downstairs with Danielle. And I'm at the airport, and you have sent me to Poland to bring to refugees a relief. I'm coming with money that you raised, as well as humongous duffel bags that are so overweight with art supplies for the kids in a refugee center. And the duffel bags, oversized, you know, could not get even into oversized, what do you call that? That open door, that portal, that would take away. And of course, I'm trying to shove it and it doesn't work. David is frustrated. He already begins to say, please don't embarrass me. I'm asking for help to the left, to the right. Sure enough, we're overweight. Well, we're over the weight, and they're telling me they're gonna charge us another $200 for the supplies. And they're fair to charge extra weight, but it's not fair in this case. So now I'm absolutely cut loose. And I'm like, you want to open that bag? You can open this bag. If you'll find high heel shoes and makeup and so forth, so on, you can take a look at it. But what you're gonna find is art supplies for kids, and you must let us go. And I'm willing to spend $200 for more supplies, but you're not getting it. And I go, I am loose. I am really cut loose. My poor son doesn't know what to do, and he goes, it's enough, we'll find the money, it's enough. He's trying in Russian, he's speaking to me, he's trying in English, nothing helps. I yell, I go from one attendant to another. I am not paying that $200 to the airline company. They can pitch in and let us go. I yell. Eventually, a manager comes, looks at it, opens the bag, he goes, doesn't even open, looks at the bag that's just about to be burst to be opened because, by the way, art supplies are not easily packed in a duffel bag. Don't do it. Figure out the other way next time. Nevertheless, he says to me, is this for Poland for Ukrainian refugees? I said, yes, it is for Poland for Ukrainian refugees. He says, go, nothing, don't charge her. We got your supplies to Ukrainian refugees in Pashkovka, and the first thing kids did with David, and they ran and opened them up and started painting. And they paint beautiful skies and sunsets. They paint happiness. They did not paint misery. Children do not paint misery. They paint hope. In the airport, my son says to me, no. I look at him and I said, I apologize, I embarrassed you. Я извиняюсь. I apologize. I said, but you know, sometimes you cannot be silent. You have to cry out, because if you don't, it will change you. And that is not allowed. So I want to say to Darchei Noam community, who? And not only to Darchei Noam community, all of you who are involved in resettlement effort, you make magic. You give life. You give hope. There are people here from Jayas, there are people here from Anglican Diocese, there are people here from Adat Shalom, there are volunteers who we haven't seen in a long time, but who connect to the tradition through social action and tikkun olam and resettlement. And I'm, God forbid that I'm afraid not to mention, but also you, beautiful, brave people who decided to cast your lot in a new world, frightened and hope. You give meaning to our lives. Without you, there's no country, there's no society. We need you. Over the years, we have sponsored Syrian Family 2016, led by Suzanne Klein, Naomi Albo, and many others, 2022 provided help to Ukrainian refugees in Poland and raised over $50,000 to take it there. I was your messenger. Anna and Andrea here represent that community. More recently, we have sponsored and welcomed 3 Eritrean families from Israel, Eden, Danny, and their children. The sponsorship also included more fundraising. Simret and her family, Mikhail and his family, in addition, 6 single young Eritrean men from Israel, Tesfazgi, Merhavi, Kubrum, Amar, Abdu. Most recently, Agi Mainhard, Dan Rosen led the group who sponsored family of 5 young Afghanis. Not here yet, but coming in this year will be Syrian family sponsored by a group organized by Debbie Michnik and 2 additional Eritrean men. The list is long, forgive me, please forgive me if I did not list all of the names. The names I called out as an example. The names I called out are you. Please step in and create change in someone's life that is invaluable, more precious than rubies, that will give life not only to the immediate family, but to generations to come. And maybe one day, someone will be yelling at another airport because they cannot be changed, because you have taught those of us that yell out how to cry out when injustice can be changed to good. You bring light to us. And in that spirit, I'm going to ask Eden, who was a refugee who was settled through Darhei Noam volunteers and community, to come forward and help us, please.
Shabbat Shalom לכולם.
Shabbat Shalom.
Is a small gift I bring to Darkei Noam, and I can say thank you so much. You bring us to Canada to start a new life, and I hope we'll success. And then I wish, and then I hope I will do that you do for us, for other refugee or weak or poor people. And then תודה רבה שעשיתם בשבילנו, ואני אעשה זה לאנשים שהם רוצים עזרה. אני אעשה זה פרומיס.
So, gratitude to all of you for all the help you have given and the hope to all. This is, for those of you who are not familiar, is Hanukkiyat Menorah. So it is used for Hanukkah, and it's extraordinary celebration of Hanukkah, extraordinary celebration of lights, where you add every night another candle or oil lamp, and light must increase. So Eden, what a beautiful gift to us. It will be used, I promise on behalf of our community, it will be used for Hanukkah next year, and we're going to place it in our sanctuary after the service. It is exquisite, and all of you welcome to take a look closer. So I'm just going to make sure that we are very gentle with it. I'll just put it back and then take it out. So thank you.
There as well. What I'm going to do is have a brief chat with our guests, and then we'll open it for some questions. We don't have a ton of time. We need to be out of here about by 1:35 or thereabouts, so I'm going to get right to it. And again, welcome you to this Refugee Shabbat, including all of you who have supported and continue to support the settlement of Eritrean and Sudanese refugees from Israel into our Toronto community. Others of you are still working to bring Syrians to this country, as well as Afghanis, and of course our own rabbi and others have been working to support the millions of refugees from Ukraine. In a few moments, we're going to talk to Simret, Aiden, and Tesfazgi, who have begun their new lives in Canada. And it's so lovely to see you. Last year we were all on Zoom and you were far away, and so there's much to celebrate. For most of them, it's been at least a 14-year journey has ended to be here in a new home, and they've begun the work of building their lives in Canada. We're so glad you're here, and your lives surely inspire us and give us hope for a better future. But I do want to take a quick moment to share with you the global picture of the ongoing refugee crisis. According to the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, there are now 26.6 million people who are refugees, the highest number ever in the world. And that is a fraction of the 84 million people who are displaced, which means they're sort of mostly internally displaced. Like our guests today, many are from Eritrea, Sudan, Somalia, and Congo. Of course, with its ongoing war, there are many Ukrainians, and the crisis in Syria continues unabated. And as our rabbi mentioned, so many of those affected in that horror of an earthquake are indeed some of those 84 million displaced people. And of course, I want to mention the situation in Afghanistan, which is critical. Many people, especially women, are in hiding or stuck in third world countries where their presence is very precarious. And I know some of you are actively working to bring more people to our country. But now I am delighted to introduce our guests. Aiden has been in Canada now with her husband and 4 children for about 7 months. Yeah. And Tesfagi has been here about the same amount of time. Simrat and her family are the veterans. They've been here for just a little over a year, I think. Last year, we heard about their refugee journey and life among approximately 20,000 asylum seekers in Israel. Today, they're going to share the challenges and pleasures of their experiences as they integrate into life here in Canada. So once again, welcome. So, Simrat, let's begin with you. I think you have some good news to share. I understand that Yuel, your eldest son, who you were forced to leave behind in Ethiopia, is now with you in Canada. Tell us about that. When did he arrive? How's he doing?
Yeah, it has been like 2 months since we come.
Yeah.
Yeah, still now? Come like this? Okay. No problem. Anyway, I left my son when he was 1 year old. Yeah, I forced to leave my country, even I never want to be a refugee anymore. I want to contribute in my home country, but unfortunately, the dictatorship in my country forced me to leave. I left my son when he was 1 year old, and I never seen him for 12 years. Last 2 months, I reunited with my son, and then it's a new life, new challenge.
Whoops.
So it's a new life and a new challenge. As he didn't raise him, I didn't show him the way how I want. And he raised with my mom. He's now with me. Just to have a mixed feeling, because sometimes I'm happy because he's with me, and then sometimes I really feel bad because I didn't raise him like what I want. And then the gaps in the educational system with the kids who they born in Israel, he has very big gap. So I really feel sad in this time.
And so, Aiden, can you catch us up on you and your family? Tell us how you're doing, what everybody's up to since the summer when you got here.
Yeah, thank you. I'm taking the PSW course. I almost finished. I'm taking the PSW course, and my husband is working. My oldest son, he's stay at home. He's looking for a job, but he didn't find a job. And I hope next year maybe he will join a college. He finished 12th grade, and then he came with the high point for the Bagrut, matric finishing. And then I hope he will start next year. Now I think maybe he's little bit in depression because he's not going outside, even he's not sharing with us because it is a new life for him. And I don't know, I hope it will be fine.
It's a difficult age, isn't it, at the
It's
best of
difficult
times?
age, yeah.
Being a teen
Especially
boy.
for two my kids.
Yeah.
Even my daughter, she's challenging with the language. And then still now she need to back Israel. She feel like she is Israeli, but she can't. I hope she will know the English. She's challenging with the language.
And are they being given assistance at the school for
Yeah.
English as a second language?
Even she's getting assistance from voluntary, I think from the JAIAS organization, but it still now it is hard for her. She can't communicate, even she's going outside, but I hope it will be fine.
It's a process, right? It's
Yeah,
not an easy
but my
one.
youngest daughter, she's fine. She speak, she understands
Ephrata.
English and then she can speak English. She's going well in school. She's just child. It's easy for her to know the English, but the
Some-
baby is little bit hard for him. But we speak in Hebrew at home because the kids they don't know Tigrinya. As I think that one is the problem. He's mixing the language. He's not understanding in the childcare the English language.
But at that age, it doesn't take long. And by the way, Ephrata, happy birthday.
Yeah.
Yay! Somebody told me you had a birthday.
Yeah. Last month.
So, and the baby's in daycare, so you can study?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Before you know it, he'll be talking 2 languages nonstop, right? When they're that little.
Yeah. The daycare is English, at home is Hebrew and little bit Tigrinya. And then he's 2 years old. He don't know even one word in English, but 3-4 words in Hebrew. And then they told me he's not talking, maybe has some problem with the speech, but
Right.
I think it is the mixing language.
Right. It's a struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard.
Someone raised his hand.
Can we hold the questions for the end? That'd be great. I'm sorry if I didn't mention that. We will have a question period at the end. And for those of you on Zoom, David, I don't know if you're still hosting, but if you are, if you can collect them on the chat, and then maybe we can go to you to read them. All right, Tesfazi, how are you? You were not part of our group last year, but so introduce yourself to us, give us a little bit of your background, and tell us what you've been doing since you came to Canada in May.
Thank you, Esther. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for inviting us to this Refugee Shabbat. My name is Tesfazi. I go by Tess. So I left my home country 2011, which is not safety over there. You may know the country situation over there. And I had been living in Israel also for about 10 plus years. And then I came to Canada last May. So I was ready for 3 years, waiting the process. So I can say I really adapted and integrated quickly. I wanted to mention thank you for our amazing Friends High group, including Ray over there. They helped me a lot after I arrived in Canada. And now, it was a little bit struggle to find a job by my educational background, but fortunately, now I work at the jazz. So I can say I'm pretty much settled, integrated, and there is a challenge, of course, as a newcomer, but it's okay. Really, being a group of this high group, it really helped me and helping me to integrate, to navigate the city, to know the rights and the duties of the country, and then to get a job as well. So I'm doing well. Thank you very much.
And Tess is working actually at Joyous as a settlement worker, correct?
Yes.
So using
I
your
work at the
experience.
Jazz as a settlement worker. which means I work with newcomers, including myself, like myself. And I work with, majority of my clients are Eritrean, and I work with Ukrainian clients as well. So I feel very happy, and then it's good also to work with someone who has the same background with you, the same certain level of background, So I'm really happy. I like my job anyway.
And you mentioned you're studying to be a PSW. When will you be finished?
I will finish on 7th July, and then I hope my goal is to be a nurse. And then half of part-time I will work as a PSW, and then I will continue my education.
And I would imagine, and maybe working at JIAS you would know this, there's quite a lot of demand for PSWs. So I hope it'll be easy for you to find a job. And again, within our community, remember, Aiden will be ready for work in July, and we have a good network here. And gosh, all of us are getting older. You probably end up taking care of most of us. We return, the wheel goes round, right?
Yeah.
And Simrat, you are working as well, right?
Yeah, I'm working at Bialik. So I'm working at
I don't know why yours isn't, yeah.
It's not
Rohan, we've got one mic, dead mic. I'm going to give her mine. I think. You can figure that out.
I have it now.
Yeah, that one is cordless, even
That's
better.
okay.
Got it? You got it off?
Yes, yeah.
Got hers, okay.
Yeah, this Fasgi already mentioned it, just I didn't mention before, that being in between the just, the high group is, they just feel as a family and someone is behind, he can show us everything. So I'm so proud of that, and then I don't feel that, I just mentioned the challenge, but I have a lot of privilege here. So I'm working at Bialik, which I feel is home, and then connected family. I'm very happy. Yeah, I'm very settled. I have the two boys settled well, and then I'm very integrated well in the country.
And I think you mentioned to me you've got to get out of here on time because one of your son plays select soccer,
Yes,
or football as you would call it.
Yeah, he's playing soccer. Today has a game in at Hamilton, and Odette will take me there. So he has a game at 4:30 today.
Oh, we'll be out long
Yes,
before.
he's
Great.
playing with the Celtic group. They play hockey and then skating. They integrate well.
They're learning to skate?
Yeah, they do.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's great. Yeah, that, of course, that is the Canadian thing, right? All right, they're on their way. Okay. So I'm going to ask you each the same question. I think you talked about some of the challenges, but tell me something that surprised you about life in Canada. It took a while to get here. I know you were in touch with people from the High Group, but, well, anybody want to start, or I'll just point? Something that surprised you? Aiden, you think of anything? Oh, sorry.
Just, you know what? When I was in Israel, I don't know where to go, but I know where I will go some destinations. So I was working in the Canadian Embassy, and I discovered all the places, what Canada is, and weather, and everything. I had the expectations, but I really feel proud to be in between the diverse community and to influence my own culture and to be proud of my culture. Yeah, I really happy that, but nothing is surprise. Life is the same, everywhere there is a challenge, but you have to fit it. That's what I believe.
Thank you. Aiden?
I can say to be a newcomer, it is also a challenge, but I feel belong to Canada because I go wherever freely. I start my dream to learn, and then I can do whatever I need in Canada. But in Israel, I can't do nothing because I didn't have any recognition. I feel I was in prison, but in any way, I love Israel and I love the Israeli people. They are kind people.
But life here is freer for you.
Yeah.
More possibility.
Yeah, the problem was with the government,
Not the people.
not with the people. That's why
Frequently
still
the
now
case.
they have a place in my heart, the Jewish people in Israel.
Thank you. And it's, you know, you are all in a sort of an extraordinary situation where you weren't in Israel for a short period of time, so you really have that culture too. And here, again, you're adapting to yet another culture, another language. It's no small mountain, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And what about for you, Tess? Any surprises?
Yeah, I can say, when I get in Canada, I didn't is it working?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yes. So the hospitality, the welcoming of my friends when I get home to Dennis and Linda's house, they surprised me by welcoming to me. My dinner is prepared and my room is very prepared as well. This is a surprise for me. I didn't expect, you know. I just introduced it with Danny when I was in Israel, when I'm prepared to come, yes. And then when I get into their house, it's just surprised me with everything is ready for me. And then they prepared a room for me. And then I stayed 1 week, and then I stayed 1 week with the Ray also. It's a surprise, you know. We didn't know each other. We didn't meet in person, but they gave me their own room. That's a surprise. I'm very happy that it's a joy. I'm grateful that I met with them, I met with you. And after that, with all the support of you, I'm very much surprised also how much you are connected with the refugee, helping to integrate and navigate the city, giving them information, all these things. So I really, the surprise is what you are doing to me, which is, it is over my expectation. So really, I'm so happy. So for some of you, you are doing already. If you are not doing, some of you, if you can do, please do it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. I'm just wondering too, and then we'll open it for some discussion. Are any of you connected to the broader Eritrean community or Tigrayan community here? And is that a help, sort of hearing the experience of people who've been here a bit longer, or just to feel the comfort of the food, the language, has that been a factor at all for any of you?
Can you phrase it, the question?
Sure. So what I'm asking is, you know, there is an Eritrean community in Toronto, and I'm just wondering if you've made contact and if that's something that helps as well to integrate you talking to and being with people that have been here a bit longer, or just because it's comforting to be connecting to your roots.
Yes, for sure. After a week when I stayed, I started to connect with my community, my friends, those who arrived before me, and I connected with the Eritrean community. We have a non-profit organization, a small community group, and then they help newcomers as well. They have a tutoring program, so I helped them as a math tutor for 2 months plus as well. So yeah, I'm really integrated. I found a friends, and then, you know, some of them I know back to Israel, and some of them I introduced here. So I'm like widening, diversifying my networks also with them. So there is.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, after I settled myself, I thought that I have to help someone who really struggled like me. So of course I know my community where they are and where they are. So I have to join the Eritrean community. We find them there. We have the Eritrean Canadian community here in St. Clair. I joined them, and then I'm a member of the reserve board. So yeah, we really want to be our community together in order to help each other, not to inform the people who are behind and the people who are here. Most of them we have not challenging with the language and everything, so we feel that we are better than them and we can help them. That's the way we are connected. But at the beginning we really settled with the help of Chai. We discovered, I didn't mention the networking and everything. I couldn't find job at Bialik if Chai was not behind. So first we settled by the Chai group. I really appreciate it.
As for me, I am not connected with my community. At the beginning, when I resettled to Canada, it was more stressful because I was feeling like alone, boring. Only the Jewish community was with me. But now I start to find my community. I have some friends. I'm so happy.
That's great. So you can
Yeah.
still live in those two worlds, which is, of course, a very Canadian experience, right? We say a lot of us are hyphenated, and it isn't necessarily a bad thing because we all bring that strength. And I want to say, listening to you and hearing what you've accomplished in just a few months, and I hope the struggle for your children will get better. It's very difficult. You know, Danny talked about Yitro being the model, giving career advice to Moses, but it was the outsider, Yitro, who saw what needed to be done. So you bring a fresh perspective and you give back, and your children will give back to Canada as much, if not more, than whatever hospitality we've given you. And so for that, I thank you for bringing us yourselves and your children, and we know that you will bring and make Canada a better place.
Thank you to you. Thank you.
So now I'm going to open this to questions. Let me see if you have a question. Stand up and talk in a big voice. Oh, you know what? Yeah, thank you. Yeah. That'll be much better.
I'm sponsoring, yeah, they can hear me.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm sponsoring an Eritrean family from Israel. They're still waiting for their interview. What advice can you give a family with 4 children, like you, Eden? What can they do to prepare themselves coming to Canada?
She's got a mic. It's okay.
Can you hear me now?
I think they prepare in their minds to be a new life. I don't know. It's new life. Canada is not the same with their, like, the community is not the same, like little bit quiet, not like Israeli people.
We can be boring and a lot colder.
They will prepare like that. Even now, I didn't see my neighbor.
Really?
Even 8 months, I didn't see.
Yeah, that's very
It's
Toronto.
little bit quiet.
That's interesting. That's a big difference, eh? Yeah.
You know what? We say in Israel, the Israel people is different. They are so lovely, straight, and they are warm in every social activities. So just tell them the Canada is cold. And yeah, maybe you feel the people also a bit cold, not like Israel, They have a difference, not the Jewish community, but other communities, we are living with them. You can knock the door of Israeli when you are living together, but we can knock it. We are from different countries. We have different culture and different background, Israel is one community, so just tell them, this is different. Good. This is hundreds of cultures is here. They just have to aware.
Tess, do you have any advice?
Yes. I would say, because you said they are preparing for their interview, it means they are close. But if they are starting the process, they have time, so you can tell them, study the language.
Yeah.
Language is the barrier, because they might speak Hebrew, so they should have to speak English here. So the kids, the adults have to learn English. So knowing English is like a solution for many things. And if they are ready to come now, so they don't have time to study English at this time, but you can tell them, don't bring a lot of packages, because they will not use their jackets where they are using in Israel. They don't need to buy a lot of stuff over there. So they can buy. If they bring their money, they can buy here. There is a good shirt, good jacket. They can buy stuff which is fit to the weather, right? So I think that's my advice. And you can add also, they have to make lists of their needs when they come here. They have to go to the settlement agency. They can help them, and you can let them know, when you arrive, we will do this one, this one, this one, this one. And they will have an image in their mind. so what they are going to do and what they will expect. So I think.
Thank you. Excellent. Good advice. Any other questions? So Ryan?
I was just curious. When you said you're at Bialik. What are you doing at Bialik?
Oh, I'm just in the front door and receptions. I think Linda is here. She works at Vialik. She knows all what I'm working there. Yeah, I'm working at the reception, the front door. I hope that I add something.
I'm sure you do. Anything else? I think, Danny, you had a question?
Okay, I think I'm allowed to. I'm going to ask this fat Tess because I think Tess is very new to us. Tess, you have a very interesting backstory, which people I don't think know. You are one of the very few Eritrean men, or Eritrean period, with a university degree obtained in Israel. That is a very, very rare thing. But I think you can tell us that when this whole university started by you being in jail. Can you tell us the story very briefly?
He's not embarrassing you or anything, eh?
Not at all. Not
I'm
at
just kidding. I'm
all.
just
Not at all.
kidding.
Yeah. In 2017, 2018, the government of Israel was threatening us to deport for unknown African country. And then they summoned me whether to stay in jail for 1 year or to go back to unknown African country. So I stayed in Hollett Prison Center, Hollett Open Detention Center, and I was very much involved with the community. And then I was leading the community in Hollett to create awareness in the city of Tel Aviv, going every morning and back to stay in the detention center every night. And then I met an American Jew who was very involved with the African communities. And I spoke to him, and we and my friends told him what we are doing and how we are fighting for our rights. And then he told me, I think if you fit the criteria, so we can help you if you want to join to the university. Why not? I was talking to the ARDC, African Development Center, but they didn't help me to get into the university. So he gave me the information anyway, and then he contacted me with 2 Eritreans who already was studying their BA degree in the university. So I spoke to them, and then I applied to do my economics and business administration. So they accepted me. So he gave me a full scholarship.
Yeah.
And then when I released it from the detention center in 2018, after 8 months stay over there, and then I get into the university, I get a full scholarship, and then I graduated 2021 by economics and business administration. So that's the story.
Wow. It is an amazing story, and I'm sure there's many, many of them. So, Rohan, I think you're monitoring Zoom. Are there any questions? Because we don't, oh, we do have the monitor. Sorry. It was behind me. I can see, I only see a few faces, but if anybody on Zoom has a question, why don't we go crazy and just say, unmute yourself and ask it. Or if, David, if you are there and you have anything on chat?
I am speaking. Can anybody hear me?
Oh, size 10 women's skates. And I probably have a pair of size 6, actually. So see me or see Danny, and we'll thanks, Gila. We'll make it happen if anybody wants to skate. All right. Really, that is the ultimate Canadian integration. You do understand that. That and tobogganing, that's it. So I see one more hand, and I think that'll probably be the last question. Tina, sorry. Let's get you a mic, Tina. Hang on.
I met a few people who were not with Chai or Jayas.
Up higher.
Hello,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, that's good.
Better. I met a few people who don't actually understand the background for the reason that we are bringing the Eritrean Jews here. We heard a little bit about Cholot detention center, but I don't know that everybody knows the entire story of why there are so many Eritreans who crossed Sinai, came to Israel, and were there for a number of years, and why they are leaving. So I would like somebody to explain that to everyone, just to make it clear.
Danny, you want to take a 2-minute, or I'll tell you what, I'll start talking and you correct me when I make a mistake. There has been ongoing struggle, war in Ethiopia, Eritrea, Tigray this past year. There's been a lot of death and displacement. It seems never ending. My own work, I was the ombudsman at CBC, and the Eritrean government was one of my frequent flyers because their tolerance for any criticism was zero. Not a nice place to live, not a good regime to live under, and many people fled in the middle of the decade, and they fled as well from Sudan, Somalia, all that area which has been constantly at war, or civil war mostly, and fled into Israel. Many people didn't make it. The people that did were without rights in Israel. They were considered asylum seekers. At one point, Netanyahu, in his previous incarnation, was actually going to, as Tess mentioned, try to deport them. There was really strong pushback, but you lived, I think, in a kind of netherworld. You were tolerated, but didn't have rights. Your children would not become citizens. They were educated, and I know, I mean, in another life, I'm involved with the New Israel Fund and support a lot of human rights and advocacy for African asylum seekers. So that's like the 2-second potted history of why, and I know some years ago, Danny in our synagogue, I think, was the first to bring, while we knew about it, he was the first person to get us organized to do something about it, that while Israel was somehow tolerating these groups of people on the margins, they were never going to have a fulfilled life. And so Canadians and the Jewish communities in many parts of the world stepped up to help people find a place where they can live in safety and in freedom. Is that okay, Dan? Does that do it? Real quick, because we're going to pass that to Marty.
I don't think it's as much the Civil War. I mean, there were wars. I mean,
In Sudan and in Somalia?
There were wars, but once the Eritrean struggle for freedom was a poster child. It was very popular among left-wing, but once, what's his name, Afwerki, the dictator, once he came to power, he was a brute. He was a brutal government. I don't know, you could ask.
That's the point I was trying to make. I don't have to speak for you. It is an incredibly brutal government. Yeah.
And some of them left because they were, I've talked to people who left because they were being drafted into the army.
Yeah. Where you serve indefinitely.
And it's, I don't know the three of you, but I've talked to people who walked, who walked to Libya, couldn't get on a boat to Italy, and then walked from Libya to Israel, and these at age 13 or 14, 15, I'm sure that's a backstory that each of you has.
Yes, which we did talk about last year, which is why we didn't revisit it now, because we wanted to celebrate this new phase. But
it's a horrible government.
Yes, it is. So Danny, you want to just about out of time, unfortunately.
Yeah, we're running out of time, we're running late. We promised a few people, you can talk to people afterwards.
Yeah.
A couple people have to go. Simret's son's soccer game is in Ancaster, wherever that is.
Anybody wants to go
it's
cheer?
Not
Go for it.
exactly in our neighborhood. So Simret has to get there and get the kid there in time, so we have to be respectful of everybody's time.
Yeah.
So I'd like to thank Aiden, Simret, and Tesfazgi for their sharing their stories. Thank you to all who have supported them as they launch their productive lives in Canada. As Esther mentioned at the beginning, the success of our guests today is truly inspiring. They are really all doing very well. Don't get me wrong, some people who have come have challenges, and some people who come need a lot of support. Some people are doing extremely well and basically say, hey, I've got my life together, I know what I'm doing, I know where I'm going, I'm fine. That's great. Please consider getting involved, supporting efforts. Debbie Mishnik is bringing in, right here, Debbie is bringing in a Syrian family who are coming very soon, any week or month now. And Debbie's family will need help, will need support, and please, let's help Debbie and her team.
And there's more coming, there's more over there.
And there's more, yeah, well, and yes.
The need is endless, that we know.
You know that, unfortunately, in the whole world, we cannot solve the refugee problem ourselves. But there are more
One by one.
Eritreans and Sudanese in Israel who can use our help, and there are more Syrians in Lebanon and other countries who can use our help, and we are continuing to help them. So Maya, who's back here, is actually going to be sort of in charge of the next two Eritreans who come, two single guys who are due to come this year, and Maya will be heading up the team. And so everyone should realize and know that if you'd like to volunteer, any aspect, anything you can do, please let us know. You're really, really welcome, and we really, really thank you for your participation in Refugee Shabbat and for your time and for your interest.
And mostly thank you to our guests for sharing their stories.